Today we're going back to an old school classic, something that absolutely used to run the meta and the ladder in Marvel Snap in the early stages of the game. We're taking Mr. Negative for a spin today, seeing how he does in the current state of the game. So let's jump in. Let's go. Hey, Milky here, back again with another one. That's right, we're taking Mr. Negative for a spin. The awesome thing about Mr. Negative decks is that you really only need him as a card to unlock this brand new archetype of decks, a completely new deck. The super cool thing is that lots of cards within pool 1, 2, and the base pool really complement Mr. Negative as a card and work with him very, very well. Now, if you don't know, Mr. Negative has this ability where he reverses the cost and the power of all cards that are still in your deck. So when you're building Mr. Negative decks, you have to build around that to make the most of it. So we have a deck today, which is a very high roll style of Mr. Negative deck, but it's something that absolutely used to slam, and I'm really keen to share it with you. So let's jump in and take a look at the cards now. So this is our Mr. Negative deck, and as I said, it is quite a high roll style of deck. It does have lots of pool 3 cards in my version that I'll be running today, but you can absolutely build this deck without lots of pool 3 cards. There's lots of cards within the base and pool 1 and pool 2 that I mentioned that absolutely can be used in this deck and do very well. We've gone with a bit of a different style today, but I'll mention the cards that you can lean on in some of their places for swapping out for some easy pool 1 and 2 substitutes. First up, we have Psylocke, and Psylocke is an amazing way to ramp into Mr. Negative early. If you have Psylocke in hand and Mr. Negative in hand, you can play her on 2, and then you can play Mr. Negative on 3, which is just going to set up the rest of your game for some huge plays ready to go. You pretty much always want to be playing Psylocke on 2 if you've got a negative play ready to go, but also, she can ramp into other cards. If you don't have that play line, you can definitely skip, maybe play her on turn 3 and play a big 5-drop, setting up for the rest of the game. There's lots of different things you can do with Psylocke. She gives you lots of versatility, but I'd say the ultimate playline, the high roll playline that you're going for is Psylocke into Mr. Negative. Next up, we have Ironheart. Because of the 0 power in Ironheart and the 3 cost, those get flipped with Mr. Negative, makes her an incredible asset to this deck. Often, you'll find with this deck, if you are able to flip a lot of 0 power cards in your deck, you're going to have some huge turns late on in the game. And this is an ideal target for Mr. Negative. Mystique is a fantastic inclusion in this deck, not only because she suits the negative kind of cost power flip very well, but also she has some fantastic targets, which you can target Wong, you can potentially target Iron Man, which is a fantastic target. Lots of things you can do with Mystique. She really adds a lot to this deck. Next up, we have Mr. Negative, and Mr. Negative used to be a 4-cost 4-power card, but series of nerfs came through and he's ended up at a -1 power, and the deck is seeing a ton less play. However, I still think it's a really, really strong deck. Mr. Negative's on-reveal ability will swap the power and cost of all cards that remain in your deck at that point in time, so you can really load up your hand if you're able to flip a lot of good cards in your deck and then draw them after that. He's a game changer. He can definitely do some crazy things that's completely unique to him. Awesome card that you can build a deck around. Next up, we have Wong in the deck, and Wong doesn't make his way into all Mr. Negative decks, but I think he suits this deck quite well because he pairs very well with some of the cards we have late on in the game and the combo pieces. Also a great flip target. He's only going to be a 2-cost if you're able to target him in the deck with Mr. Negative, so he can definitely work out in your favor for sure. Next up, we have Iron Man, and he is a pretty core card in this deck, I'd say. He's one of the best targets for Mr. Negative's flip ability, but he's also going to represent a 0-cost 10 power card on the board just by himself. So a massive power push late on in the game. Again, he just works super well in this deck and has some great other targets you can copy with, like Mystique. You can copy his ability, and you can use him in a lot of different ways in this deck just to kind of even win lanes by himself. The Taskmaster actually shares the same stat line as Iron Man, making him a 0-cost 5-power card, so fantastic for the negative flip. He also has some great targets later on in this deck, like Black Panther. He does really, really well in this deck for sure. White Tiger, again, and I feel like I'm just repeating this, great target for Mr. Negative flips. You can play her for 1 cost and 5 power, but then she's also going to get the benefit of the Tiger coming out as well. So it's a massive power push on the board, a 12 power push for essentially 1 cost. And you can pair her with things like Wong if you need to fill up lots of board space as well. There's options with White Tiger, and she's fantastic in this deck. I then have Magic in this deck, and she's not absolutely vital in this deck, but because of the cards that we've built out, and this deck seems to only get stronger the longer you play it out after you've been able to flip your cards with Mr. Negative, we've included Magic in the deck that you can now only play on turn 5 or earlier. You can't play her on turn 6 anymore. But I think she just adds to this deck. You can potentially play her as early as turn 4 if you get a Psylocke into Mr. Negative. There's some versatility you can do with her. And because this deck just continually gets stronger as the game goes on, there's a lot that Magic can bring to the table to kind of make that even better. Black Panther comes in, and he's not a perfect target for the Mr. Negative flip. Yes, he does get better, and he would represent a 4-cost 10 power straight off the bat with his on-reveal ability. But he just pairs it really well with some other cards in this deck, enables a bit more of a high roll, allows you to round out and push power to a single location. I really like the addition of Black Panther in this deck, and I think he does pretty well. Often people might swap in Devil Dino in the spot here, making it a 3-cost 5 power card after the flip with Devil Dino, so that's definitely a consideration. I just like some of the other combo pieces with Black Panther in this deck, and I think it does pretty well. We then have Jane Foster, the Mighty Thor, coming into the deck, and you might think she's absolutely counterintuitive to the deck being a 5-cost 8 power card, but she's in there for the ultimate high roll. The awesome thing about Jane Foster is that she will draw all of your 0-cost cards from your deck. Now, if you're able to get Mr. Negative down on the board, and you've already got Jane Foster in hand, you are set up for the game of your life. You're about to draw all of your 0-cost cards, providing you've got the hand space ready. But she is just an absolute powerhouse if you're able to get those high roll games. Often, you'll find yourself, you're flipping the deck with Mr. Negative and then you're getting an unplayable Jane Foster, but that's just the give and take of playing Jane Foster in this deck. I love the high roll style of it, and if you can get that combo of Mr. Negative with Jane Foster in hand, often it's kind of just curtains from there, and you can just win the game out so solidly. So she's included in my deck, not in every Mr. Negative deck, but I love what she adds to the deck for sure. Rounding out the deck, and another 0 power card is Arnim Zola. Arnim Zola will end up being a 6 power 0-cost card if you're able to get the negative flip off with him in the deck. And he's able to destroy a card, but add 2 copies of it to another location. There's some fantastic targets for that in this deck, like Black Panther, but also things like Iron Man, Mystique, if she's got a strong ongoing ability going on. There's lots of options with Arnim Zola. If you can sequence the turns right, and you can play him out in the final turns of the game, can be some big swings from Arnim Zola for sure. Alright, so that's our version of the Mr. Negative deck. As I said, there's so many different ways you can build out this deck. You can potentially include cards like Jubilee, Wolfsbane. I've seen people running Rogue from Pool 3. There's so many different cards you can include in this deck. You pretty much just need to go through the cards that you have available to you and look at the cost to power ratio and then figure out if they fit in your deck. Often that is a great way to build out Mr. Negative decks, and having that flip on those cards can potentially make it game-swinging plays. This is the version that we've ended up with, and not only is it a super fun deck, but it enables a really high-roll style of play, which I really like. And often, if you do get the combo and you do get the turns in the right order, it can be just like a shutdown for your opponent, and there's so many different ways you can win out with this deck. So we're going to go ahead and jump into some games now. As always, infinite rank, pool 3, let's go. All right, so first up in this one, we're going straight into Vibranium Mines, which is the featured location at the moment. We have Jane Foster in hand, which is very nice if we can draw into Mr. Negative. Ideally, at this point in time, we don't want to draw into 0-cost cards, having Jane Foster in hand. We'd love to get Psylocke, who would be fantastic. Psylocke into Mr. Negative would just be the craziest play. We get Zola, so not fantastic. At the moment, we don't have any early turn plays, so we might need to figure out how to win this one out without Mr. Negative. In saying that, we do get Project Pegasus, and we get Mr. Negative straight off the rip. So we can make some awesome plays here. I think what we want to do is definitely get Mr. Negative out on the board. We can get Wong as well. I'm just thinking, do we potentially give up this location? We probably don't want to shuffle things into our deck. Our deck is strong enough as it is, and Vibranium Mines does nothing for us. So let's go ahead and do this. You have some potential strong plays going on. It looks like he's running an interesting kind of Lockjaw version of the deck. The Okoye is quite cheeky there. Very unfortunate that's hits our Jane Foster. But that's okay. We'll deal with it. We're not going to get any Jane Foster value this this turn. So he actually has a Mr. Negative too. No, his leader flipped into our Mr. Negative. Sorry. Now I'm gotta watch what's going on. So he actually got a huge roll there with the leader. Very interesting. But I think this time we're just going down the route of Black Panther into some Zola craziness. Okay, don't mind this. What we actually can do here is we can also Taskmaster here, which is just next level. We get 20 power here. We can also just Taskmaster here. Do we need to extend the game? I don't think so. So I think we're just going to go ahead and Taskmaster here. We could have probably done a Magic or a White Tiger or a few different things, but I like the Taskmaster play. So he's got a pretty big rescue there for sure. And it looks like he had some cards in his deck which actually benefit from the Mr. Negative. Which is quite cool for him, for sure.
Systems go.
So we're gonna go for the Arnim Zola play. There's some craziness that's gonna go on here. Ooh. So this is still gonna give us 40 power in the middle and 40 power on the left. So the Magneto is a nice little play there, but oh sorry, we get 80 power on the left. I forgot about the Wong, but this is a nice little Magneto play to kind of disrupt what was going on, but the Zola was just, on Black Panther, was just too strong. So he ended up with, a 20 power Taskmaster, 80 power Panther on the left, and 40 power Panther solo in the middle. Even after him getting like some massive rolls with Mr. Negative and Leader into cards that he could use, the deck was just super strong. All right, let's kick on to the next one. And we kick on with Mr. Negative deck, and we have Mr. Negative in hand, which is perfect. And we have Psylocke. Ooh, this is going to be very, very nice. If we can draw Jane Foster in the next couple of draws, we would be very, very happy. We'd be in a great spot with that. Oh, that's very unfortunate that he that his hood got stuck there on Wakanda. However, he might end up moving it to New York later in game, get some value there. All right, this is a spicy one. So I think we're going to go ahead and go Mr. Negative here. We're not going to get the ultimate high roll with Jane Foster. We could magic out Bar Sinister. I don't know if Bar Sinister is the greatest location for this deck for sure. So we do draw straight into Iron Man. So we have a fantastic combo here with these two. What I can do is... Look, we can just lock it down now with Iron Man. How do we feel about that? I feel like I want to extend the game. I really feel like I want to extend the game out. This feels kind of wasteful. But we do want to get the copy off, so I think I just play Ironheart here. I know I'm missing power, I know I'm doing that, but I'm going to play Magic next turn. And then we'll kick on with our draws in the deck. I think very interesting play here. So he's going to have a full location of Okoye buffed cards, so to speak. We could potentially even just flip New York here. So, like, it doesn't add a lot of power doing this with Carnage for him, but he does end up with just a lot of space he can use. So I think what we can do here is, do we want to flip Bar Sinister or do we want to flip New York? I think flipping Bar Sinister is probably the play line. And because we have 0-cost cards in our hand, we don't really need to do anything else. He might do something cheeky on Bar Sinister this turn. Okay, so he's got Sarah, so he's going to get the full value of Sarah craziness, which is going to be fun for him. But I think we're okay with that. I think we're okay with that. We get the Zola, so potentially what we can do here is the crazy thing with Mr. Negative decks is you can quite literally just keep skipping turns. You totally can. I feel like he's going to move the hood out. Where do I want to play this, though? Like, I think I need power on one of these locations because we can go kind of crazy with other things. Also, Zola. This is a tough one. Because I might just want to do this. Like, this is probably the play. We play Iron Man. Then if I'm doing that, do we even need to do anything this turn? Well, we can do it for efficiency. We can do Iron Man, Mystique, Zola. But if we just did Iron Man, Zola. We'll do this. We probably wanted to Mystique our Iron Man there. But I'm not exactly sure if I wanted to fill up that location right away.
I am Iron Man. I am Iron
Man. So you don't have a good ongoing ability to copy, which is kind of that's fine. Do we just? I think we just go after these two. We kind of messed up our play this turn. We probably should have done the Mystique play to double, but I just wasn't certain on like. Ooh. He just Yoldo to Shang-Chi over there. Very interesting. That was a big play from him. We come close on points difference. It's 15. We win on points difference, but like we definitely messed up our play there. We should have Mystiqued over here. All right, straight off the bat, we have so we have Kamatage. We definitely don't want to be playing Mr. Negative in there, but we do have Mr. Negative in hand early on, which is fantastic. Wonder if we can draw a Psylocke or a Jane Foster here. That would be top notch. Psylocke straight off the rip. I think we it's overkill, but I think we go ahead and do this. Getting Mr. Negative out just early is just so good. Now we could just go straight into Iron Man here, which is also insane. On like a turn 3 Iron Man. But I kind of want to Mr. Negative here. I can Mr. Negative here. Actually, it's gonna be beneficial to us to do this, I think. Okay, so this is probably a Spectrum deck. I would assume. Probably a Spectrum deck. Let's go ahead and do the Wong. We can Iron Man Mystique next turn if we want. So this is almost certainly a Spectrum deck, which is just going to go absolutely crazy on us. That's okay. We have some big plays here with ours. We can do Iron Man, and we can do. We're going to duplicate all of this with Black Panther here on the final turn. This is going to be a wild ride this last turn. Let's go ahead and do this. Iron Man for him there is very interesting. He will get a big buff on Spectrum. So I think he's saying that like these locations, everything's lining up for him very, very well, which undoubtedly it is. So we can play this on this location, which is fine. But we do want to destroy both of these with Black Panther, I'm pretty sure. Man, this is going to be a wild turn. This is going to be super cool. All right. So we went, just make sure I got the sequencing right. We'll go Black Panther, Arnim Zola, Taskmaster. We could Taskmaster the Black Panther as well, but I think I want to guarantee that these two die. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's see. We're expecting a Spectrum here. We probably shouldn't have actually played Taskmaster in the middle. It's not going to matter too much because we're going to destroy. So it does work out. And then it's going to go insane on Kamatage. Like, this is just going to be a wild, just insanity. And then plus all of the buffs. And Taskmaster comes in and copies this on for 12 power. The Spectrum play is a spicy one. It's nice. 4 Spectrum buffs. But it's not even going to be close. It's not even going to be close. The early roll with Psylocke into Mr. Negative there was just absolutely nasty. Being able to double Iron Man, 256 on Black Panther. Got another 65 over here. Definitely a high roll, but definitely a fun game as well. All right, so that's going to wrap us up for our high roll Mr. Negative deck. As you can see, some of those games, definitely a high roll style of deck. Super, super fun when you can get the combos to come off and you can draw the cards, you know, in the right order and have the cards ready to go. Really enjoy this deck. Mr. Negative is one of my favorite decks to play. You know, even after the nerfs, even after the massive nerfs that Mr. Negative got, I think all the cards around him that support the deck still do really well. And I think this deck is still super viable. Just remember, you can build Mr. Negative decks without all of the pool 3 cards. Look, they definitely do make it much stronger. But you can still build versions of the Mr. Negative deck, which can do relatively well with only some early pool cards. So that's just something to consider as well. All right, that's going to wrap us up for this one. Really hope you enjoyed. We'd love to have you subscribe to the channel and like the video. It definitely helps us out. And until the next one, I'll see you then.